DANVILLE, to most people, polio is a disease of the past, something hidden away with the iron lungs and quarantine signs. It's no longer a threat, so why worry about it? Judy Story and other Rotary members know otherwise, warning, it's only an airplane ride away. The disease, which can cause paralysis, still exists in 3 countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and, to a lesser degree, Nigeria. All it takes is for a traveler to contract the highly contagious virus and bring it into the United States to infect those who haven't been immunized. Fortunately, vaccinations have brought polio under control in the U.S., and it's no longer endemic. In 1985, Rotary International launched its PolioPlus program, the first initiative to tackle global polio eradication through mass vaccination of children. In 1988, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative formed partnerships with public and private groups. Vermilion County has 3 Rotary chapters in Danville, Sunrise, downtown Danville and Noon, and 1 in Hoopeston, all of which are working toward that goal as well. Although Rotary International collects millions of dollars each year for polio eradication, a big push is on now, starting this year and continuing for 3 years. All of the Rotary clubs across the world are making a concentrated effort to raise a total of $150 million over that time period. If Rotary meets its goal, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation will match it 2-for-1. I'm positive we're going to raise that $50 million each year, said Story, assistant governor for the Danville area and a member of the Sunrise Club. We need to finish the job. The 3 service clubs in Danville are working independently to raise money. Downtown Danville took a collection from members and also wrote a check. Noon Club found a way to fine members for minor things, with all fines going to the polio challenge, plus a check. And Sunrise is fining members, as well, and raised $100 in 1 week. In August, Larry Howell, governor for Rotary District 6490, visited all 3 clubs, whose members contributed to the End Polio Now campaign. The public also is invited to join the Rotary Club's efforts by making donations. Howell said in a telephone interview, the goal is to have 0 cases of polio by 2020. Even with 0 cases, the virus still needs to be killed. Mankind has killed just one other disease, smallpox, he said. Now, we're working on the second one. Howell, who's 72, said, I have faith that sometime in my lifetime, we will get to 0. Urgent issue. However, Story is worried about compassion fatigue. She told Howell that the fundraiser couldn't come at a worse time, with people being pulled in so many directions as they try to help the victims of the hurricanes and wildfires. Everybody is giving and giving and giving, she said. We're stretched. She said she doesn't think the community is going to feel that the effort to eradicate polio is more urgent than other issues. Story sees the urgency, however. Holding up the tips of her thumb and first finger so that they were almost touching, she said, we're this far away from eradication. We need to stop it right now. Howell said, we've developed a sense of complacency in this country because we haven't had any cases. We want to make people aware this disease still exists. Unless we inoculate people and kill the virus, the disease could resurrect and affect people in the United States. America's last outbreak of polio was in 1979. Similar to Story's statement that polio is just a plane ride away, Howell uses this scenario. Imagine a young man from California who was never inoculated and who somehow missed being inoculated when he joined the army. He's deployed to Pakistan and comes into contact with someone who has the virus. When he returns home, he kisses and hugs his family, and the disease spreads. The probability of that happening is extremely small, he said. For example, the army makes sure people are inoculated before going overseas. But the point is, it takes only 1 plane ride and 1 person in the right circumstances to spread it. The goal is to remind people that this disease is not dead, and we have to kill it like smallpox was killed, Howell said. Fear in the 50s. People who grew up in the 1940s and 50s understand the fear that polio struck in every family. Young people today don't even know what an iron lung is, Story said. Unless you've lived it, it's hard to feel it, she said. Iron lungs were machines that used negative air pressure to move air in and out of lungs weakened or paralyzed by the virus. Much of the fear during the epidemic in the early 1950s stemmed from health officials being unsure how the virus spread and how to prevent it. Of nearly 58,000 cases in 1952, 3,145 people died, and 21,269 were left with mild to disabling paralysis, with most of its victims being children. Growing up in the 50s, Story recalled that her mother wouldn't let her 8 children go swimming in public pools and kept them away from strangers for fear of catching the virus. Story had her hair permed at a hairdresser's just once. Later she learned that the stylist, in her 20s, contracted polio. That devastated me, she recalled. She was so young and pretty. Howell also recalled the time period, saying, "I remember the fear my parents and other parents had in the 50s. In 1955, Dr. Jonas Salk developed a vaccine and life got back to normal. Life changed for us. We were able to go outside and go swimming," he said. Story and others from that time period remember taking the polio medicine in a sugar cube. Today's young people are vaccinated in the US and almost every other country. However, there are still people who don't believe in inoculations, and they may be susceptible to the virus. "We're so very fortunate," Story said. "I can't imagine having a little child 2 or 3 years old and suddenly they can't walk." Ongoing campaign. The $150 million, along with matching donations and other money, will be used to provide operational support, medical personnel, laboratory equipment and educational materials for health workers and parents. The polio cases in Afghanistan and Pakistan are the most difficult to prevent due to geographical isolation, poor public infrastructure, armed conflict and cultural barriers. This year, there were 11 cases of polio in the world, and last year, there were 37 cases worldwide. In the 1980s, there were about 1,000 cases a day worldwide. Nigeria had been polio-free, but a refugee came in and was diagnosed with the disease, Howell said. Since that case, Nigeria hasn't had any new instances. A country has to go 3 years without a new case before it can be declared polio-free. Even when that goal is reached, keeping polio at bay is an ongoing effort, Story and Howell said. Every newborn baby will need to be vaccinated, and so funds will continue to be needed. Without prevention, polio could rebound to 10 million cases in the next 40 years. Howell also noted that people who are not Rotary members are encouraged to make donations through the Rotary website. The money is tax-deductible. Fee. Learn more at www.rotary.org or https://www.endpolio.org/. People may make donations to the End Polio Now Fund through the websites. Or call Judy Story at 286-3458 to make arrangements. A program about polio will stream live from the Gates Foundation headquarters in Seattle, Washington, at 4:30 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday. Global health experts and celebrities will share the progress on the road to polio eradication. Watch it at https://www.endpolio.org/world-polio-day. What is polio? Poliomyelitis is a highly infectious disease that most commonly affects children younger than age 5. The virus is spread person to person, typically through contaminated water. It can attack the nervous system and in some instances lead to paralysis. Although there is no cure, there is a safe and effective vaccine.